Gen X, listen up. You've been working since you were 15. You've raised yourself and oh, damn. I tried. Let me start that over again. Gen X, listen up. You've been working since you were 15. You raised yourself and you survived every economic dumpster fire thrown at you. So why are you buying the lie that you have to grind until you're 65? Today, 6 reasons why 50 is your magic number to peace out. And the psychology that proves that waiting is the real mistake. Let's go. All right, so now that we got the topic of the day, we'll just go over some stuff here. I got it kind of set up here in a PowerPoint presentation as to the information that I found on the topic. So we'll quickly go over that. There's some pretty good stuff. Like, it's pretty insightful. Let's take a look here. All right. Latchkey retirement. Why Gen X should peace out at 50, even if you're too young. And what is too young? Like, really? If you can do it, if you can manage it, why wouldn't you do it? Time is very valuable. Okay. Slide 1, slide 2. Number 1, mortality and salience. Mortality, salience, and time perspective theory. Okay, as we hit our 50s, we shift from a time since birth to a time until death thinking. The concept called socio-emotional selectivity theory, developed by psychologist Laura Cranstonson. I think that's how you pronounce that. When you're young and perceive time as expansive and prioritize knowledge gathering and status building. When you realize you have limited time left, your emotional priorities radically restructure, which is true. Like, when you're in your 20s and 30s, like, you've got an endless amount of time. That's the perception anyway. It's like, I got lots of time to do that. So you throw it at work and you make as much money as you can and you try and build your status, climbing that corporate ladder and getting your respect from your peers and blah, 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 blah. But then, it comes a time in your life when that changes. Now, we'll get into the second part here. The regret that hits at 50 isn't about money you didn't earn. It's about experiences you deferred. So putting stuff off while you're earning the dollars in your younger years, which is probably a better way to experience things when you're younger, even though you're still kind of developing. So I know maybe there's a time frame where that's appropriate. Psychologists call this anticipation regret. The pain of imagining your future self looking back at missed opportunities. Yes, deathbed confessions. I wish I would have did this. I wish I would have did that. I should have did that, but I was too afraid. Your brain literally starts valuing present experiences over future security because the future no longer feels abstract and infinite. Yeah, we're on the clock now. Time's a ticking. The hours of the sand in the hourglass is depleting and depleting and depleting. Like, by the time you're in your 50s, 2/3 of your life gone, right? Not much time left. Half of your adult life is gone. Say you consider yourself an adult at 20 and average age is 80. Was that 50 years? So add 25 to 2045. Yeah, you're past middle life. Okay, the arrival fallacy and identity fusion. Humans suffer from hedonic adaptation. We quickly normalize new achievements and return to baseline happiness. That promotion you wanted when you're 35 felt amazing for 3 months. Then it became your new norm. By 50, you lived through enough "I'll be happy when" moments to recognize the pattern. And even with that, like, you get those, for example, promotion, you start climbing that corporate ladder. If you get to a certain level, like, even getting demoted is like, it's not good. It's not a real good feeling, right? It's just you're progressing backwards in your mind's eye. But really, realistically, you should be thinking about, stuff outside of work and how you measure that rather than stuff at the corporate job level. I know guys that self-demoted themselves because they just didn't like the pressure and the stress at that level, at the level they're at. So they self-demoted and they're happier at their job. There's also identity fusion, when your sense of self becomes indistinguishable from your professional role. This is psychologically dangerous because it creates ego depletion. Every decision at work drains your limited willpower reservoir, leaving nothing for creativity, relationships, or self-care. Retiring early forces a healthy identity reconstruction, the same psychological process that happens in adolescence, but voluntary this time. So in your 50s, you get time to kind of reinvent yourself. Maybe like you're in a situation where you can retire in your 50s. I don't know what that would look like for each individual, but maybe start your alter ego before you finish your job. Create an alter ego before you finish your job. So like when you transition to unemployed person, you can just hop in your alter ego and recreate yourself to suit your new identity. Number 3, socio-emotional selectivity in finite relationships. Carstensen, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. Research show that as people perceive time as limited, they prioritize emotionally meaningful goals over instrumental ones. Your 50s trigger a biological shift. Your brain starts categorizing relationships by depth rather than breadth. What does breadth mean? I guess I should have looked that up before I did this presentation, but I'm going to look that up after for sure. Maybe we can do it after the presentation. This connects the terror management theory. The awareness of death makes us seek symbolic immortality through legacy and connection. For example, if you start a YouTube channel, you're going to be on the internet forever, right? So create your legacy, make it a good one. Spending time with aging parents isn't just duty, it's psychologically protective and buffers against death anxiety by strengthening generational continuity. The guilt of missing your parents' final years creates moral injury. I guess that kind of depends on what kind of relationship you've had with your parents throughout your life. Maybe they weren't real good parents. Maybe they were awesome parents. I know that's up to an individual. That's kind of an individual thing. So judge that how you see fit. I don't know, maybe you don't have parents, but there'll be some sort of parental figure that you looked up to. You can adapt that to, that other parental figure. Specific types of trauma from violating your own a specific type of trauma from violating your own values. So you just feel guilty. Number 4, mental accounting and present bias reversal. Traditional economics assume present bias. We overvalue now and undervalue later. But in your 50s, this reverses. The future self continuity gap narrows. Your brain starts recognizing that future you is actually you in 10 years, not some abstract stranger. Yeah, I'm going to be the same guy in 10 years. I'm going to know some more stuff and have some more experience, but baseline me, it's going to be the same guy in 10 years. There's also loss aversion asymmetry. We feel loss twice as intensely or equivalent gains, but applied in time, this flips. Every year of health you gamble by working becomes a potential loss that feels more painful than financial gains by staying employed. Your brain starts doing mental accounting differently, trading dollars for days and valuing days higher. You can't pay me enough to work overtime, or it gets to the point where you can't get paid enough by a company to sell your time to them anymore. Your time becomes too valuable, provided you can afford it. And that's, I guess, kind of the crux of like this channel. Be your own best option. Set yourself up so you're not dependent on a job or going to a job or selling your time. That's the real retirement strategy for Generation X. Setting yourself up where you're not shackled to a job. You don't want to be a debt slave, because like there's a couple examples I even know recently that I heard. A guy he was set up to leave his job, like financially. He was clear of debt. He had a large nest egg, and he had a plan. But the company he was working for, they just pitched him a bigger bone, and he bit. And then he bought a new truck, and then he was locked in. That's how it works. That's how they get you. So avoid that. And then you can worry about valuing days rather than dollars. Mind you, this guy was a bit younger. I think he was still, early 40s or something like that. So a little bit of learning left to do. Number 5, allostatic load and learned helplessness. Allostatic load is the cumulative wear and tear on your body from chronic stress. By 50, decades of cortisol exposure and have physical consequences. Inflammation, cardiovascular damage, hippocampal shrinkage, affecting memory. Your body is literally keeping score. Psychologically, prolonged burnout creates learned helplessness, a state where you stop believing your actions can change your situation. This is depression's gateway. So this is how you get depressed from work. The psychological contract you signed at 25, work hard, get security, has been violated repeatedly by economic volatility. Staying out of fear isn't loyalty, it's trauma bonding with your paycheck. It'd be like Stockholm syndrome with your job, I guess, maybe, Maybe that's the wrong term, I don't know. Just threw that out there. Number 6, optionality theory and growth mindset in identity. Psychologist Carol Dweck growth mindset applies to identify itself. Early retirement requires believing you're capable of reinvention. You know what, as a generation, I think we're quite capable of that. Being, seeing how the way we grew up, taking advantage of opportunities or creating our own opportunities out of nothing. It seems, I don't know. I know that was the way for me and my friends, people I know, pretty capable that way. Because remember, our generation was variable, future unknown. And I remember in school saying, like, teachers not saying you're not going to have the same kind of career or job prospects your parents had, or it's one job for your life. You're going to have many jobs and maybe many different careers, like in different industries. And it's been true. They were right about that. Okay, isn't your job? Oh, I got to redo this here. Requires believing you're capable of reinventing. That skill is transferable. That valuable isn't tied to your job title. This is self-efficacy, confidence in your ability to handle whatever comes. And that's us. I think that's us to a T, Generation X. Optionality theory, popularized by Nassim Taleb. Hope I pronounced that correctly. Suggests that keeping choices open has inherent value. Retiring at 50 with skills and savings gives you maximum optionality. You can consult, volunteer, travel, or return to work if needed. Let's hope that doesn't happen. If it does happen, let's make sure it's on your terms. The psychology safety of knowing you could earn more reduces the anxiety of not earning. So knowing that you have the potential or the ability to generate an income via those ways whenever you want, that will reduce your anxiety. It puts you in the driver's seat, more or less, right? This is psychological flexibility, the ability to adapt to changing circumstances without losing coherence. Oh, the Gen X specific layer. This generation specifically carries latchkey independence and economic whiplash from multiple recessions. They've already internalized that institutions won't save them. This is actually an advantage. They have higher internal locus of control, believe that you direct your life, than boomers. But more skepticism than millennials. The psychological profile makes early retirement less scary. They trust their own resourcefulness more than a pension promise. Oh, yeah, pension promise. That's not even a thing anymore, pensions. That's like a boomer thing. Well, it's very rare, very rare. Any companies don't offer pensions anymore. They're like defined contributions. The decision to retire early isn't really about money. It's about autonomy. The fundamental psychological need to feel like your life is self-directed. By 50, most people have accumulated enough financial and social capital that continuing employment actually reduces autonomy more than it provides security. So more or less gets in the way. your job gets in the way of what you want to do with your life. By 50, you should be set up to peace out and carry on doing what you love and generating an income and creating your own opportunities, like kind of like we did in high school, right? At least I did. Nothing was set in stone, fluid. That's the tipping point where psychology shifts from responsible to self-betrayal. Yeah, so you're doing yourself a disfavor apparently by staying and work in your 50s because you're blowing through time. That was good. I like that. So there we have it. That's today's episode. 6 reasons why you should peace out at 50. 50 is your magic number. Don't wait till you're 65. If you're not ready at 50, maybe in your 50s you should be working towards that exit. I don't know. You wouldn't be watching this, I don't think, if you weren't interested in that kind of direction. Coffee's so good. Anyway, I think that's it for this episode. There's some good learnings in there. It's all about mindset and changing your mindset and perspective, right? You got to get yourself out of that corporate mentality and stop chasing the dollars. Like I keep seeing the guys in their 30s and that chasing dollars, and I get it. And that's their time to build their resources up and their social status to get when they get to 50s. That should be the new retirement age. That should be the new number for retirement. You work to 50, and then not even like a full retirement, like a baby boomer retirement. There should be like 10, 15 years where you are like consultant mindset. You have the resources and you're not in debt. There's no debt slavery. There's no reason for you to be at work. Like you don't have to be there. You're not chained to your job. You should be there because you want to. And if you don't want that job or don't like that job, you should easily transition to something else or have other opportunities. I think that's ideally the Gen X retirement, if you want to call it that. There's always going to be opportunities. You should always be creative and create your own opportunities and be resourceful enough to find your own financial independence. You shouldn't be relying on a job until you're 65. And then even at 65, you should be like scared and sketched out about, not being employed or under that corporate security blanket. That should be like 15 years behind you, I think. I'm not there. I'm 52. And according to my own theory and the words that are coming out, I should have been done 2 years ago. But this is all a learning process for me and for probably a lot of you, right? Because even there might come a time where you're in your corporate job and you lose your job, and that's not even your own choice. You just got laid off. And at that age, who's going to hire the old guy compared to the guys who are in their 30s, who's got that mindset of, the perspective of lots of time, make lots of money and climb that corporate ladder. By 50, that's not your mentality. You're more worried about how much time do I got left? How do I utilize the time I have left to benefit, the rest of my life through experience? We all know about that. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling now, so I'm going to sign off. Bid you a good day, and thank you for joining me if you made it this far. If you like my stuff, like, comment, and subscribe. I maybe should have said that at the beginning of you. Maybe get some more subscribers. I don't know. Anyway, I am peacing out for this episode. We'll talk to you later.